1. In the context of turnaround analysis, which of the following best defines adult learning principles? A. Structured memorization techniques focused on recall. B. Approaches that recognize self-directed, experience-based, and goal-oriented learning. C. Training methods limited to formal classroom instruction. D. Strategies emphasizing rote practice without feedback. 2. Which evaluation method is most suitable for assessing the effectiveness of a leadership training program for turnaround analysts? A. Summative evaluation at the end of the program. B. Informal feedback sessions without documentation. C. Randomized selection of participant opinions. D. Ignoring assessment to reduce participant burden. 3. When developing a curriculum for financial restructuring, which principle ensures that learners can apply concepts directly to practice? A. Abstract theorizing without application. B. Experiential learning linked to real case studies. C. Memorizing textbook definitions. D. Strict adherence to pre-written modules without flexibility. 4. In mentoring turnaround professionals, what is the primary role of the mentor? A. To act as the sole decision-maker in projects. B. To guide, support, and facilitate professional growth. C. To provide answers without encouraging critical thinking. D. To ensure compliance by issuing directives. 5. Which communication strategy is most effective when discussing sensitive turnaround recommendations with stakeholders? A. Delivering lengthy technical details without context. B. Using clear, concise language with active listening. C. Avoiding eye contact to minimize confrontation. D. Focusing only on financial terms without human considerations. 6. A key factor in regulatory compliance training is A. Encouraging participants to rely on outdated guidelines. B. Ensuring awareness of current industry regulations and ethical standards. C. Allowing employees to interpret laws individually. D. Minimizing emphasis on accountability. 7. Which of the following best describes formative evaluation in a turnaround training context? A. Assessing participant progress during the program to improve outcomes. B. Collecting final scores at the end without feedback. C. Measuring return on investment only. D. Ignoring feedback to avoid complicating results. 8. When creating learning objectives for a CTA course, they should A. Be vague to allow interpretation. B. Be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. C. Focus exclusively on memorization. Avoid linkage to performance outcomes. 9. An adult learner in a CTA program struggles with financial modeling concepts. The instructor should A. Repeat the same lecture without modification. B. Provide real-world examples and peer discussion opportunities. C. Ignore the difficulty and continue with the syllabus. E. Assign additional rote memorization tasks. 10. What is the purpose of using Kirkpatrick's 4-level evaluation model in turnaround training? A. To assess learning strictly through test scores. B. To measure reaction, learning, behavior, and results comprehensively. C. To emphasize compliance over performance. D. To prioritize administrative needs only. 11. In turnaround strategy communication, feedback should be A. Dismissed to avoid conflict. B. Structured, timely, and constructive. C. Postponed indefinitely. D. Restricted to written memos only. 12. Which mentoring technique best supports the development of junior turnaround analysts? A. Imposing rigid directives. B. Encouraging reflective practice and guided problem solving. C. Providing answers without explanation. D. Discouraging autonomy. 13. Which learning approach is most effective for experienced professionals in a CTA program? A. Lecture-only delivery. B. Problem-based learning linked to authentic turnaround scenarios. C. Rote memorization of compliance documents. D. Avoiding interaction with peers. 14. What is a key benefit of peer mentoring in turnaround analysis? A. Promotes hierarchical dominance. B. Enhances collaborative learning and shared experience. C. Minimizes feedback exchange. D. Limits exposure to new perspectives. 15. Which regulatory compliance method is most appropriate in CTA training? A. Conducting periodic audits and refresher sessions. B. Allowing participants to self-regulate without oversight. C. Ignoring updates until a violation occurs. D. Overloading learners with irrelevant statutes. 16. When designing assessments for a CTA curriculum, validity ensures. A. The test measures what it intends to measure. B. The questions are ambiguous and confusing. C. Only rote memory is tested. D. Participant outcomes are ignored. 17. Which instructional strategy promotes deeper learning for adult turnaround analysts? A. Providing open discussions tied to case studies. E. Using repetitive drills without context. C. Limiting interaction between learners. D. Encouraging passive note-taking only. 18. In mentoring, active listening involves A. Interrupting frequently to give solutions. B. Paying attention, clarifying, and providing empathetic responses. C. Avoiding verbal feedback. D. Focusing only on the mentor's perspective. 19. Which is an essential element of curriculum development for a CTA program? A. Alignment of objectives, instruction, and assessments. E. Arbitrary sequencing of topics. C. Excluding learner input in planning. D. Ignoring regulatory considerations. 20. Which evaluation method allows learners to assess their own turnaround skills progress? A. Self-assessment tools with reflective analysis. B. End-of-course multiple-choice exams only. C. No evaluation method at all. D. Reliance solely on mentor feedback. 21. Which communication method is most effective during crisis management in turnaround scenarios? A. Transparent, timely, and empathetic communication. B. Avoiding all communication until the crisis resolves. C. Sharing only partial facts. D. Using technical jargon exclusively. 22. What is the best way to address resistance to change in turnaround training? A. Ignoring employee concerns. B. Encouraging open dialogue and addressing fears. C. Imposing changes without explanation. D. Avoiding communication until after implementation. 23. Which type of feedback is most impactful in adult learning environments? A. Immediate, specific, and actionable. B. Delayed and vague. C. Negative without suggestions. D. Ignored entirely. 24. What is the primary goal of mentoring in turnaround professional development? A. Building long-term competencies and confidence. B. Ensuring dependency on the mentor. C. Discouraging independent thought. D. Providing instructions only. 25. Which compliance-related activity is critical in turnaround analysis training? A. Regular review of updated financial regulations. B. Ignoring regulatory shifts. C. Focusing only on historical practices. D. Reducing compliance to a one-time task. 26. A CTA training course uses simulations of distressed companies. This approach aligns with A. Experiential learning. B. Memorization drills. C. Passive observation. D. Theoretical lecturing only. 27. Which aspect of adult learning principles is reflected in allowing learners to choose project topics? A. Self-directed learning. B. Instructor-centered control. C. Memorization-focused teaching. D. Ignoring learner interests. 28. What ensures fairness in CTA assessment methods? A. Reliability and consistency of scoring. B. Vague and ambiguous criteria. C. Grading based on favoritism. D. Ignoring established rubrics. 29. Which mentoring approach fosters autonomy in mentees? A. Asking guiding questions instead of giving direct answers. B. Dictating solutions. C. Discouraging exploration. D. Restricting problem-solving opportunities. 30. Which factor best promotes regulatory compliance awareness in training? A. Real-life case examples of compliance successes and failures. B. Avoiding discussion of compliance altogether. C. Assuming learners will study independently. Providing overly complex legal texts without explanation. 31. In turnaround training, which communication barrier is most damaging? A. Lack of transparency. B. Clear messaging. C. Timely updates. D. Inclusive dialogue.